James, welcome to #World Food Day.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege to be on World Food Day.
James, I first want to ask you, tell us about yourself and your journey to where you are today.
Right. I spent about 21 of my years in my first career in the military. I was a guards officer, which is equivalent to the Marines in the British Army, I think. And then I was a combat officer. And that was a time that I was like protecting the nation. And then just about 4 years back, I was contemplating what to do with the second half of my working life. And that's where I find myself doing my ikigai and then considering that I need to do something purposeful. And since the world needs to save it from itself because of our overconsumption and global warming, right, I decided to channel my energy in my second career into saving the world. So actually from green uniform to the green economy, and that's what I would call it. Yeah, so since the last 3 years, I have actually embarked on a startup, which is an agriculture startup. It's called V Plus Agritech, and this is our logo over here. And we do urban farming, right? And using sustainable methods like hydroponics and aquaponics, right, to bring food actually closer to the city. Right, since cities are already growing very quickly and are likely to continue growing in the next few decades, right? And our food is produced very far away, right? We want to bring it closer to the people. And that's where you can actually really make a difference in terms of cutting food waste and bringing more nutritious food to the population. Other than that, I'm also teaching sustainability in the Singapore Management University, as well as I'm a fellow in the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy.
Amazing, James. What a journey you've had.
Yes.
Where did the passion come from? What made you suddenly decide to try and make a real impact through food?
So actually, I wasn't exactly targeting food. I was just actually targeting sustainability, to take climate action. Right? It just happened at the time that when I make my decision, there started to be a spotlight on food. And then I realized that everybody's shining the spotlight on the green energy transition, solar, wind power, renewables, etc. And then now there's this food thing that nobody's staring at. And when I was in the military, I tend to be assigned to positions where I have to do new things. It's kind of like a startup, but in the military sense, where there is no doctrine, no SOP, no concept of how do you solve the problem, right? And I thought that I could put my expertise into doing that, to look at food and see how we can solve this problem.
Okay, so that's really fascinating. I want to ask you now, James, so what are you doing? Tell me more about the way in which your business is set up in order to make an impact.
We are actually creating a new market, which is in urban farming. So, and our clients are actually places like schools, hospitals, nursing homes, charities, shopping malls that typically do not own a farm, and they just buy their food, right, from wholesalers, from retailers, and so on and so forth. But right now we are trying to convince them to grow their own food, because by growing their own food, you can actually do what you call import substitution. You substitute the imports with locally grown food, and in that way you actually reduce the food miles. You bring food closer. The kind of emissions from the food miles are reduced. You reduce the food waste, which is a big problem because about 30 to 50% of the food never gets really to the consumer's mouth, right? Along the supply chain, right? Due to quality concerns, due to poor cold chain, right? The food actually goes bad along the way. So this is how we try to reduce the emissions, as well as bringing fresher food, which is better for health to the population.
It's absolutely incredible. How can people find out more about your organization?
Right, go to our website, vplusagritech.com. Right, we have our website there. We are also on LinkedIn. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, pretty much all the popular ones, YouTube as well.
Fantastic. I want to ask you, what's the one thing that people could do? What changes could we make in our lives that would impact the opportunity or the possibility of a more peaceful and sustainable world, particularly as it relates to food?
Well, I think people like us, I mean, I live in a first world country and yourself as well. We are so used to having abundance, right? And we do not know where our food come from. But if we do know where our food come from, or even get our hands dirty, so that we actually grow our own food, we will appreciate how difficult it is to grow our own food. And then we will be more conservative when it comes to buying food and actually wasting food. In that sense, we just get enough for ourselves rather than get too much, right? And just by reducing waste alone, I think you can actually cut down a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And the other thing is, of course, the other culprit is meat, right? We eat a lot of meat nowadays, especially beef, right? Those from ruminant animals, right? So replacing that with eat less. I'm not saying go for vegan diet, but you can eat less meat and use plant-based alternatives. That will also help.
In relation to us living in a more peaceful and sustainable world, and of course, food is a major driver to us having peace, why the World Food Programme, of course, won the Nobel Peace Prize. What do you think the great challenges are that we face in relation to food and farming?
I think it's very important to recognize that we are not just facing a climate crisis with regards to food production, we are also facing a social crisis whereby nobody wants to be farmers. So no new blood is actually entering the farming industry. So what you have right now is in Southeast Asia, the average age of a farmer is like 55. Right? In Japan, it's 65 years old. So you can just count in a matter of 1 decade, you can have current generation, they are farming, they retire or they pass on, right? And then who's gonna grow our food, right? And yet the world is not willing to pay more for food. So who wants to be a farmer, right? When it doesn't pay, right? And you bear all the risk, right, of the climate crisis where you have global warming affecting plant use, right? And then you have a lot of uncertainty, right? And you can't make money from it. And so it is like a race to the ground, if you like to call it, right? It's a vicious cycle. So we need to change that. And I think one important thing we need to do is education. That is why my company has a lot of our urban farms built in schools, right? And that is important because you need to inspire the young generation about where their food comes from and that actually you can farm and it's not that difficult, right? And hopefully you can make a living out of it as well, right? Of course, you need government policies to come in to try to subsidize, which many countries are doing right now. Yeah, but that is not enough, right? You can give money, but you cannot, if you fail to inspire the young to come in, you're still looking at what you call an age cliff. You're actually literally falling down an age cliff, right? In 10, 15 years time, the whole farming industry will just shrink very much.
Fascinating, James. Fascinating. Thank you so much, James, for participating in #WorldFoodDay, and we wish you the very best on your journey.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for having me.